Good evening again, everybody. Dear AStroconcert fans, I'm glad to find you again here online for this second meeting, the second hangout, talking about Icy Rose 67P. I am Stefano Giovanardi, one of the creators of the AStroconcert project, together with Angelina, who is the musician. She has been producing all the music of our project. Instead, I am one of the astronomers of the Planetarium of Rome, and I'm the narrator of the AStroconcert shows. So I'm glad to be here with you because I'm really enthusiastic about finding all the chances to tell more about this project. So once again, I would like to bring in a few interesting topics about the concept and the meaning of Icy Rose 67P. Indeed, together with Angelina, we have been working about it for several months, and we are quite happy with the result of our production. But we would like to know from you what are your impressions if you have seen the performance of Icy Rose 67P that we have performed for the first time exactly a month ago. It was the 26th of April, and we were performing the show, the AStroconcert, from the Group Farm Studio in Rome. It was the first performance ever, so it was quite even a challenge for us. We were very happy of presenting this show to the public, especially following the invitation that we got by Astronomers Without Borders, in particular by Daniela De Paulis. And following her suggestion, we started working on Icy Rose 67P since October of last year. It took quite a long time to develop the entire project, but indeed it was a very strong motivation for us to bring one more piece of science and of music and of perhaps poetry to our listeners, because the Global Astronomy Month, which was the occasion for performing this new concert and producing it, is an international event, very well known across the world. So for us, it's a fantastic occasion to get in touch with an international audience. This is also why we wanted to offer this hangout live, to have a little conversation about every side of the AStroconcert. So during this hour that we will be talking about it, I would be very happy to receive your feedback about the performance, if you have seen it. If not, you can certainly have a look at it. And I want to mention that for this week, until the end of May, until May 31st, we have uploaded the video of the full streaming of the performance we did a month ago, in order for more people to be able to watch it from different places in the world. In fact, even the timings of these three hangouts that are accompanying the replays of the AStroconcert have been chosen to allow people from different parts of the world to take part in the conversation, to join in. So let me mention the link of the performance by just showing you the page on YouTube where you can actually watch it. So let me just take a second to bring you the oh yeah, let's see. You may be able to see now. Yes, this is exactly what you should be watching by now. Let me check. Let me just double check it. Yes. If you can find the link top of the page. So for the rest of this month, you can actually watch the replays of AStroconcert Icy Rose 67p anytime you like. According to whatever time zone you live in, you can just open YouTube and enjoy the AStroconcert. Or I hope you will enjoy it. The concert itself lasts about 1 hour, and we thought it was a good time to take to bring you across space and time and on a musical landscape flying towards a comet. Let me come back to the video. It looks like we okay. Let's come back to that. Yes, there we go. I'm not sure that it was actually visible, the YouTube page of the AStroconcert. So if you're following this conversation, please let me know using the chat, the conversation chat, and I would be happy to bring back again this link. Otherwise, you can go back to the AStroconcert page on Facebook to find the link to the event. In any case, I just want to give some remarks about the history of this AStroconcert while I'm waiting for your questions. Okay, here we go again. And to begin with, I would like to share one picture, one image that actually I ended up showing you so the last time, and I want to bring it up again because it is quite meaningful for me, especially on this particular date. Let me show it to you. Here it is. Now you'll be seeing the photograph that is actually the first image of the AStroconcert video. What you see is a telescope standing alone in front of a colonnade, bringing to the entrance of a museum, which is actually the Museum of Roman Civilization in Rome. This is a place which is particularly important for me because that was the seat of the location of the Planetarium of Rome until about a year and a half ago. So the place I've been working for 10 years, and where I've learned and developed most of what I can do about creating astronomy. And also, it was the place where the first productions of the AStroconcert were presented to the public. In particular, me and I like to remind the very first experiment with our AStroconcert. It was called Stellar Vibration. It was a visionary concert located inside the planetarium, so surrounded by the beautiful starry sky of the dome of the Planetarium of Rome, which was moving according to the music, and it was produced for the International Year of Astronomy back in 2009. From then on, throughout all these years, and I have been producing several other shows. After Stellar Vibrations, we produced the Destination Infinity in 2011. That was also for the Planetarium of Rome. And later on, we did an experiment called Astrotherapy, which was a very soft, not vanishing electronic music accompanying a hour sitting inside the planetarium. There's nothing happening, just the sky slowly revolving around the viewer. It was an event for one of the first global astronomy months. Yes, because it was called 100 hours of astronomy. Well, it did not last that long. It lasted 8 hours. But throughout that time, anyone was free to sit inside the planetarium and just enjoy the view of the sky moving around him or her, and enjoying the silence following that motion. Some glimpses, we could say, of electronic music by Angelina were surrounding the impression of the motion of the sky. Then, after the astronomy, we produced cosmic echoes in 2009 again, and it was a show connecting the Earth and to the sky in a kind of different fashion, because it was a year when the authorities in Italian government were threatening to close down some important scientific institutions, like research institutions in astronomy, geology, in studying of the seas, in all sorts of natural sciences. And of course, there was an outrage about this, and we were involved in a big show, in a big event that was set up just to test against this kind of closure or closing, with this show called Cosmic Echoes, where we were visiting different planets, different celestial bodies, with the goal of discovering what each of those bodies will tell us about the importance of studying, I don't know, geology, or studying water, studying the atmosphere, and so on. So on each different planet, we have examples of those applied sciences, natural sciences, to underline, to stress how important they are also for studying the Earth back here. Now, the list of our events, the list of our productions is completed with Aurora Borealis, which was produced in 2013 after a trip that I made to Lapland to see the Northern Lights, and that also was the origin of another beautiful AStroconcert. Each of these AStroconcerts can be available for whoever is interested, for other replies, for music festivals or science festivals or other kinds of events. It can be performed both in Italian and English. Anyway, I want to make a remark about this picture that I'm still showing about my telescope located in front of the Museum of Roman Civilization, because today, the 26th of May, is not a random date. It is actually the anniversary, the 11th anniversary of the opening of the planetarium of Rome. So let me come back to you in person, just to tell you that unfortunately the planetarium of Rome is now closed, and it is so since almost a year and a half. It was closed down abruptly on January 28th of last year, 2014. For no technical reason, because the Museum of Roman Civilization needs restoration, and you know that could be useful sometimes because it's a very old building. But the fact is that throughout all this time, those restorations have not even begun. The restoration works have yet to begin, and nobody knows when they will begin. So you can guess that nobody can know when the planetarium of Rome will be reopened again, because the planetarium is located inside the Museum of Roman Civilization in Rome, and it has been closed down even though it doesn't need those restoration works. It's only the other museum that will be concerned. So basically, we don't have a planetarium anymore in Rome, which is kind of a shame for a city that is going to be the only European capital without a planetarium at the moment. Lisa, I wanted to bring to your attention today, because I hope that you will support our call, our request to ask the Roman authorities, the municipality of Rome, to act as quickly as possible to reopen the planetarium, because it could work right now, although this long closing time when the technology is abandoned to itself certainly will not do any good to it. And the risk is that when it will open again, it will be lost, it will be just broken. And a lot of money will be needed to bring it back. So if you want to help us, go on the website change.org and please sign a petition that you can find with the search engine of the website change.org by typing Planetario and Museo Astronomico, Astronomic Museum. All the signatures that we send in definitely will help us to let the authorities know that the planetarium is important, not for us, but for everybody who visits the city. Anyway, let's come back to our AStroconcert Icy Rose 67P. But please give this birthday gift to the planetarium of Rome. Sign the petition. Today it would have been open for 11 years, but it didn't reach its 10th birthday because it was closed down. Now, what about comet Rosetta Philae 67P itself, which is the number of comets Churyumov-Gerasimenko? These are, so to speak, the main characters of our AStroconcert. And indeed, when composing the AStroconcert, we found that it was interesting to tell the story of the Rosetta mission in a different way from what everybody else has already done or written or said. But I thought that it was interesting to tell it backwards, from the end to the beginning. In fact, after I presented my comets in the first chapter of the AStroconcert, the first image that you see is the first landscape that Philae takes of the comet, the historical, iconic image of the first landing on a comet. I'm going to show you this image just to make sure that we all have seen it, but I'm sure there's no need of that. But here it is. You can correctly see the image. Well, yes, this is the most famous image of Philae on Rosetta, and for the first time we see what the nucleus of a comet is like when you touch it, when you jump on it. And it's so different from what we were used to expect, to imagine, or even to dream. It's so rocky and not so icy as people thought before. So this image and the other ones sent by Rosetta force a shift of paradigm in our way of thinking of comets, of imagining what they are. You know, probably you know that famous astronomer Fred Whittle back in the 70s used to say that comets are dirty snowballs. And that comparison with a snowball made a lot in shaping our imagination about what a comet is or may even feel like. Instead, when you actually get down on it, it changes so much, its appearance. It doesn't look much different from an asteroid, for instance. It's very dark. You know, we think of comets as bright objects in the night sky with their tails glowing in the sky among the stars, but indeed, their surfaces are among the darkest in the entire solar system, as they reflect only 6% of the sunlight invest in them. So they're extremely opaque, dark, not certainly similar to a snowball. Although this is not the only element put in by the Rosetta mission that is contributing to shape our imagination about the comet. Actually, this can be compared in a very similar way to another shift of paradigm in imagining comets linked to their meaning, because until people didn't exactly knew what comets were and how they moved across the solar system, comets were always considered fearful objects that were coming down on Earth to bring some bad luck or event, sad events, wars, and other catastrophes. Well, now we are measuring what comets are made of, and we have changed completely our mind about them. They don't have any longer a bad meaning, bad connotation, but they are seen as potential resources of water for a planet like Earth. Like in the past, they fell multiple times on the surface of our planet, bringing with themselves a lot of water. And astronomers are still debating whether the water of our oceans and of our lakes and seas is the same water of comets, is of the same kind. Actually, the latest measurements made by Rosetta on the materials on the ice of comet 67P seem to contradict this idea. So it may not be the case, but still, comets are probably the largest water reservoir that is floating around in the solar system. And aside of that, comets are also seen now as probably carriers of life, because there's a speculation which says that comets may bring around space the basic needs of life, like the basic chemicals of life, molecules that are the basic seeds of life that may flourish and be born on some planet, like amino acids. They have been found in the dust of comets. So over time, in the 2nd century or millennia even, comets changed a lot their reputation in front of mankind. But there is really a lot more to say about how the materials, videos and photos taken by Rosetta and Philae have changed our way to see comets like this one. For instance, I like to think of Rosetta as a sort of talented interplanetary photographer. Because the images that it sends of the landscapes, of the panorama of Comet 67P are not only very detailed scientific images that are explaining a lot about the nature of comets and the consequence about the origin of the solar system, but there's really a not negligible aesthetic side to these pictures, which I think is taken up also by the way these photos are framed by the staff at ESA that is releasing continuously these images to the public. And it's not only talking about pretty pictures, like most of astronomical pictures are. But if you take this one, for example, that I'm going to share with you in a second. Let's see. This is one of the most famous, I think, landscapes taken by Rosetta of one of the regions of Comet 67P. I think that this one, as well as many others, can be connected even at first glance to the way of portraying landscapes of a famous American photographer of last century like Ansel Adams. You certainly have seen pictures by Ansel Adams, even maybe not knowing that he is the author, but the famous moon over the Half Dome, or the moonrise over the little village of Hernandez in New Mexico. Some famous landscapes of the western part of the United States, and not only in New York, defined a new way to portray to landscape photography, to portraying places or details in places in black and white. The black and white by Ansel Adams is so expressive. It can bring out details and shadows and points of light and of darkness that are extremely expressive. So I think I can find the same expression expressivity in the pictures of Rosetta of 67p taken by Rosetta, like this one that we are looking at now. Indeed, this, even the framing, even the range of colors, and or better say, the range of grays from black to pitch dark, going through all the 100 shades of gray. Just not to be diminutive about it. So many bring up so many details and so many textures that you can really sense how it would feel to touch that piece of the comet. Maybe it could be smoother down in the valley. It could be edgy if you touch the boulders at the bottom of that picture of that valley. It could be harsh to climb that steep wall that you see on the right that really resembles the half dome. It could be a paradise for free climbers, I would guess, if it would be possible to send a team of free climbers on comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko. Although also because their gravity would be so low that they would lose almost completely their weight. They would weigh no more than a feather, exactly like Philae when it descended down on the comet. So the climb would not really be so hard in that sense, but it would be really an amazing experience. And for me, that I'm not a free climber, it still reminds me of the mountains of Earth. For instance, the Alps, or better say, the Dolomites in northern Italy, that are one of the most beautiful parts of this of the Alpine chain, the Alpine mountain range. Well, if you shoot a picture, if you take a portrait of the Dolomites, of that landscape, it really looks like this. If you don't know that this is a comet, if you see this picture for the first time, it will be easily mistaken, and you would tend to think that this may be a terrestrial landscape found somewhere on Earth. In the Dolomites for me, or maybe in the Rocky Mountains for someone else, or in the Caucasus or other thing, or the Andes or wherever in the world, but nobody probably would think that this is a comet. So look at this, how the portraiture of the landscape of a comet can change so much our way of imagining it, and then introduce, we could say, a new standard in portraying celestial bodies. That's why I like to compare Rosetta to Ansel Adams. Let's come back to us then, because the comparisons and the analogies between Rosetta and other artists or other creative people are not over here, because there's at least another comparison that we can make, this time with Picasso or the other Cubist artists. That is related to the very strange orbit that Rosetta followed around the comet. You have seen videos and simulations of that motion, and it's perhaps the first time we probably have all wondered how it is like that a probe is moving around the comet in a triangular orbit. We define it a triangular breakdance, or maybe a sort of space cubism, which may find the approbation of Picasso itself, and because indeed, with the motion, the trajectory of the probe around the comet, which is indeed only a simulation of an orbital motion, because the comet itself is still revolving around the sun. So that shape is really the masterpiece of the flight controllers of the Rosetta probe around the comet from ESA. Well, in this way, we can find so many references to art, to imagination, to visionary ways of talking about a comet or just describing it. That certainly all these materials that are continually reviewed by the mission itself are very suitable to produce a concert, to be accompanied by music and a narration that is not only the scientific report of a mission. That's why we found that the theme of comets, and in particular the Rosetta mission, was particularly interesting as a subject for an AStroconcert. And this is why when we were invited to use a new AStroconcert for the Global Astronomy Month last month, we chose comets, and that was the origin of Icy Rose 67P. Well, I may say that this will not even be the last of the AStroconcert projects, because there are so many more elements that can raise imagination and music, and a new way of producing, of presenting this the emotional side of astronomy to the public, that I'm sure that Angelina and I could have so much more work to prepare AStroconcerts for the next 10 years and more. We will see what's next, of course, perhaps for the next Global Astronomy Month or for other events. But still, we can concentrate a little longer on the landscapes of Rosetta, because as much as I was saying that the comet to me resembles the Dolomite Mountains in the Alps, probably somebody else also had the same idea. And I want to show you this photo coming from an Italian amateur, I suppose, Luca Savorani, who took one of the landscapes of the comet. I think it's a slightly different region from the one we saw before, and drew on the background, on the ice, on the smooth part of the surface, nothing less than ski tracks. As you can see here, again, if you see this picture for the first time, you would probably take those ski tracks for true ones and mistake the whole landscape for a terrestrial one. A mountain covered with snow, a gentle slope enjoyed by several skiers, went down and left their tracks here on the snow. But this, again, is a comet. Who knows if on some future day, there will be a human mission to a comet, and the lucky astronauts will get their chance to try comet skiing. Aside of these sporting activities on the comet, there is certainly one more magic element about it, about the landscape of a comet, and about the feature of a comet, because we all think, when we say comet, we immediately think of its tail. We have a strongly eradicated image in our mind that connects the word comet with an object, with a star that has a tail behind it. Well, besides the fact that a comet is not a star, of course, there is something, again, that is labeled as magic, that is made possible by the exploration of Rosetta, and it is finding where the comet's tail begins. Well, that's kind of impressive if you think about it, because a comet, as we have seen so far, is completely different from a star and has no obvious appearance of a tail, or at least from close by, you can achieve something different. You can finally discover where the comet's tail begins. And that one picture, one among many, that I want to share again with you, that illustrates perfectly this idea of detecting, perhaps for the first time, what the comet begins. Here is the nucleus of comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko, and the pinnacle raising from the neck between the two lobes is called the happy region, and so far it has been the most lively area of the comet. Well, from here you can see the tail of the comet. This what seems a storm of dust and vapors is actually the first part of the tail, and here is where it exactly begins. Well, this is the first time we see directly the origin of the comet's tail, and I think it's another magic element, so to speak. I mean, it's scientific evidence extremely important about what the activity of the comet originates. But also, I think it reminds not only me, but many of us, that finding the beginning of a comet's tail is probably something similar to discovering where the rainbow ends. We've all seen rainbows here on Earth. There was one in Rome also a few hours ago when it rained. Well, probably we have all wondered where the rainbow ends. We see the beautiful colored arc, and at some point it vanishes somewhere. There are many stories and even legends connecting the origin, the end of the rainbow, to discovering a source of gold, a paint of gold. But aside of the legends, that point is not an exact location on Earth, on the surface. It's something that you cannot reach and not even touch or grab. So the vapors and the dust, the gases, radiating the tail of a comet, well, also they cannot be easily grabbed or touched. That I think it's best to collect dust grains and analyze them. But once we see where they where they lift up from the surface of the comet, well, I think this is for us something like finding the end of the rainbow. So, all this to talk about the beauty spots, so to say, of the comet. But the pristine surface of Churyumov-Gerasimenko has been finally touched by a foreign visitor, foreign object, which is Philae. And this man-made object is now resting somewhere on the surface of the comet. We have tried to accompany with the music of the AStroconcert in the second and the third chapter of the concert its ascent to the surface, and also we were trying to sort to lullaby it in its sleep in a hidden corner of the comet, because nobody knows yet exactly where it has ended up landing after jumping over the surface of the comet. So when a picture was released, and again I'm going to show it to you right now, that perhaps shows little Philae hiding on its corner of the comet, right there, where it is pointed by these red segments. Well, if you look at it, you know, on this beautiful and detailed surface, there's just one pixel coming out from the shadow, and that is a scientist says that maybe Philae itself. After a long search from Earth and from Rosetta, perhaps this is all that we can see now of the little craft that landed on the comet. I thought, well, this little point of light, tiny and faint, is our long hand that touched a comet. And it shows up as a desperate bright pixel, lost on a hidden corner of this huge comet compared to it. I think it's very impressive to condensate in just one pixel. Maybe it's the one, it's that one. All the efforts that people, so many people in the EDA countries have made throughout 20 years to produce it, to develop its sensors, its instruments, its technology, and also to launch it together with Rosetta and have it reach a comet after a very long journey. 10 years it took, and several twisted orbits for a total of more than 6.6 billion kilometers. You know, after all that time, there it is, lost on a wrong place, on the wrong place of the comet, still able to deliver the first human touch to its surface and send back to Earth, to eager mankind, many informations about what is the nature of the comet it touched. I think this is really dramatic. All that we know about this comet from close by comes from that desperate bright pixel. Thank you, Phile, I would say. And this, I think, this feeling of gratitude is very much embedded in our AStroconcert Icy Rose 67P, because it doesn't want to be a celebration of the mission itself only, but certainly it tries to catch the new epics of our era. You know, in the ancient times, the stories that were told and written in epic poems like the Odyssey, or like the War of Troy, of the travel of Aeneas, were the biggest stories that the humankind knew, and they had human heroes. Well, now we cannot go in person to a comet, but certainly Phile and Rosetta and the Rosetta mission and the Rosetta team are writing a new epic, the epic of space exploration. As much as the probe was drawing a cubist drawing in space, now we're talking about an epic feeling that comes from its results and its images. So we don't know what the condition and the fate of Phile lost in its corner of the comet. We don't even know if it's exactly the pixel that we've mentioned before, but the technicians and the engineers at ESA are hoping that it may even reawaken in these months, because the comet, as you may know, is traveling fast towards the sun, and it will reach perihelion, which is the closest point to the sun, in August 13. So, considering the location of the lander, which is probably lying in shadow and receives very little sunlight, or at least it did so for a long time after the landing, which caused its batteries to fail. Well, now the situation may change with more sunlight coming on its batteries and its solar panels. The lander may recharge itself so much to start communicating again with Rosetta and with Earth. So we are all really, in these days and in the coming weeks, really hoping and crossing fingers for Phile to reawaken as soon as possible and talk to us more about the frozen book about the origin of the solar system that he is reading for us. Because indeed, that's what we would describe the comet itself, a frozen book that is that if we can try to read it, it contains the story, and that's again another huge kind of epic, because it describes the origin and the development of the solar system itself, the process that brought to the condensation of planets from the nebula surrounding the newborn sun. We are talking about a story that began 5 billion years ago, maybe a little less, after the formation of the sun. So it's probably the longest story that we may read on a book, and it is right there, frozen on the surface of Churyumov-Gerasimenko. So if Philae is our tiny reader on the surface of the comet, certainly we could follow from Earth in some way the next part of the mission, which is certainly not over, because regardless of the condition of Philae, Rosetta itself is still orbiting the comet, and we continue to photograph and analyze it from every point of view. One of the chapters, the fourth chapter of the AStroconcert, is dedicated to the scientific exploration of Rosetta, and it's one of the most interesting with the music also, because Angelina produced a fantastic track with electronic effects given by the use of the theremin, that really deducting electronic instrument, sort of vintage electronic, we would say, because the theremin itself is a very, very old-fashioned instrument, musical instrument that can be introduced in a new electronic context now. And Angelina is doing so nicely and so in such an interesting way that it seems very appropriate to bring up with her music the imaginary sounds of the scientific watch of the Rosetta on the comet. Of course, there's no real sound in space accompanying Rosetta in its orbit, along its orbit, because the space, interplanetary space is empty, almost empty, so there's no way of acoustic waves to propagate across space and be recorded by the probe. But again, one of the goals of our AStroconcert was really to give a sound to something that is silent, something that is so strong anyway as an event, that we wanted to introduce a new sense, a new sensorial possibility to perceive Rosetta at work, to perceive its instruments delivering the analysis and all the and delivering their glance to the nucleus of the comet. Rosetta has an array of 10 different instruments, which for us are like electronic eyes or hands that are grabbing the comet dust, or that are exploring the surface of the comet as the probe goes around it. So we wanted to transport into an acoustic experience even this working of the probe, considering the comet from every corner and not forgetting anything. So I think this is one of the powers of telling a story of a scientific mission using this kind of music, electronic music. This is probably the most appropriate musical gender to talk about astronomical facts. Not the only one, of course, but certainly one of the most effective. And that's also why I've been so happy to work with Angelina on this project. So, if this is the technological side of watching a comet from close by, I would like to make a step back in the last 10 minutes that we have of our conversation, unless there are questions coming from our followers. But I would like to concentrate a little bit on a more natural view that we have of comets, just simply because we are more accustomed to them. And so I'll go back to the beginning of the AStroconcert with the first chapter, which I called My Comet, or actually della cometa, using the Italian name, popular name, and wrong name for comets. Anyway, since I was a teenager, I was fascinated by comets, and I observed many of them throughout the years. And when I was looking for materials for this first prelude of the AStroconcert, because I wanted to give a starting point, which is the context from Earth, where we look at the sky and see comets with their tails, so they appear magnificent and wonderful, and every amateur astronomer is always waiting for the next big comet, and I was too, of course. Over the years, I was lucky enough to have a chance to actually see some really remarkable comets and many other fainter ones. The last one was Comet Lovejoy, that I saw, like many others, throughout the winter, sliding across the sky from Lycus up to Andromeda. And perhaps this summer I may even try to watch Comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko, because it is reaching perihelion, as we said before, on August 13, and for that reason it will become also brighter in the sky. Not very bright, you still need a telescope, but with my telescope, the one that I showed you at the beginning, I may be able to see it, and I would like to have a try to find it with my own eyes and telescope. Remember, it will be a morning object, so it's not a sight for everybody, unless you really want to get up some hours before dawn this summer to look for this comet. In any case, going back to the past, I just want to bring up a few drawings and photos that I took of some famous comets that appeared all over the last years. Starting with a couple of drawings, like this one that I'm showing you now, which portrays, where is it? I'm sorry. Let me share it again. I apologize. Okay, because it was closed down. The window. Is it back now? Okay. This drawing that I'm showing you now is a drawing that I made of Comet Hale-Bopp, which is perhaps the most famous of the comets in the last 25 years, because it still maintains the record of being the comet that remained visible to the naked eye for the longest period of time, several months, and it's really a long time. So basically, virtually nobody could Comet Hale-Bopp back in 1997 when it appeared, because it was so bright and it lasted for so long that I think it still ranks as one of the most widely watched celestial bodies in history. I was there myself to watch it. So here's one of the drawings that I made of it. You can see on the side, on this side, a close-up, so a telescopic close-up observation of the comet, where you see different shades of gray to pick up different tones of brightness and details in the coma, in the inner coma, towards the nose, and the first part of the tail. We see the different tails of the comet, the gaseous tail and the dust tail, extending for several degrees across the sky. In fact, here you have a naked eye impression of how the comet was looking like by the naked eye in the sky, compared to the size of a tree, for instance, like here, that I was at the head seen from my location. So you can tell that the comet was a remarkable object for intensity, for extension. for comparison, you can see here a few bright dots, which are not randomly portrayed, but this is star Deneb, and the other stars of Cygnus, the Swan. This is Sub, and this is one of the wings of Cygnus. If you continue down here, it's just outside the image of the albedo of the head of the Swan. So this gives you an idea of how wide was the constellation Cygnus, and you can compare with it the extension of Hale-Bopp. Certainly, it was something that you will not forget if you have seen it, and I'm sure if other viewers have shared that experience with me back in 1997, certainly they will remember their own image of a Hale-Bopp. But let's go on to another couple of drawings, talking about another famous comet. In fact, what I'm going to show you now speaks of the Halley comet. Here it is. This is certainly the most famous of all comets, and I had followed it for several months, from November 1985 up to May 1986. Unfortunately, it was not a very favorable apparition for the northern hemisphere. I was living in Rimini, in northern Italy, so I could see it in the fall, in early January, and then I lost it because then it slid down to Centaurus, and only at the end of April I could see it again. But you can tell from my drawings how its appearance was changing over the days. This is almost the entire month of January, and the features in the tail were already visible. I was observing it with my first telescope. And in fact, after this, you may want to see how it appeared at the end of April when I finally could draw it by the naked eye. This was really a magnificent sight. It is my drawing of my best view of Comet Halley. It was April 28, 1986. Here it is. Fantastic tail, visible by the naked eye for at least 2 degrees. Here in the inset, you see the constellation crater, the Cup of the Gods, where the comet appeared next to Hydra, and this was the comet by the naked eye. Not perhaps magnificent as a Hale-Bopp or Hyakutake, but still it was my first famous comet, Halley, and I'll never forget that, of course. By then, I didn't have a chance to take a photograph of Comet Halley because I was really a beginner astronomer, and I only made my first attempt to photograph Comet Halley, but with no result, unfortunately. So I cannot show you any photo that I took of Comet Halley, but I certainly can show you some photos to conclude my hangout tonight of Comet Hyakutake. And I want to show you this because in the text of the first chapter, I say that these comets, in particular that Comet Hyakutake, became in 1996 one of the 3 most beautiful visions that I ever saw in the sky. Well, it certainly was, because it was such an impressive presence, an impressive view in the sky. It occupied, and can you imagine, with its tail, more than half of the sky. It extended from beyond the zenith, where the coma was in Big Dipper, down to almost 30 degrees above the horizon in Virgo. So it was really such a remarkable sight. I will never forget it. But perhaps you may wonder what are the other 2 most beautiful views that I ever saw in the sky. And at least up to now, up to date, I would mention the total solar eclipse of August 1999 that I could see from Salzburg in Austria. And that was also a really unforgettable experience. And the third, of course, is the Northern Lights of Aurora Borealis. That it's not a chance that we have an AStroconcert also on there. So, if this was Comet Hyakutake, with its beautiful tail, I just want to conclude my AStroconcert, my hangout of tonight, with a final tribute. I will say, maybe I could say so, a final consideration. We have been talking about comets, and we have been trying to grab them with our hands, with our probes, with our glands, and also with the experiment of this AStroconcert Icy Rose 67P, with our music, with our narration. I don't know if we have been good enough to bring you, along with the AStroconcert, on a personal and musical journey to explore a comet. I hope that you really got some impression from it, and but on the same time, comets are so unpredictable and so hard to catch that I really want to show you one last image, because it really deserves so. You know, the comets are famous for being unpredictable, and this brought again some famous astronomer, Fred Whipple, to compare them to cats. He said that comets are like cats. They have one tail and they do always whatever they want. Well, we like to believe that comets are really like cats, and in fact, this picture that I'm showing you now is one of those that was actually discarded from the video of Icy Rose 67P, but it tells the truth in the end, because it represents a photograph of comet Hale-Bopp here, one of my pictures of the comet, together with my cat, Olivia. Let me introduce you to my little pet, Olivia, who is now scratching at the door because she wants to enter the room and probably jump my computer before I can conclude my hangout. I will let her do so in a few seconds probably, but as she is staring to you with an intense glance, like if she would jump out to your keyboard, well, just let's prevent this from happening by saying goodbye to all of you for sharing with me this hour of conversation about the AStroconcert, and I hope you will connect to us on Saturday morning, the 30th of May, at 11 a.m. Italian time, or 9 a.m. Universal time, for our third and last conversation about Icy Rose 67P. In the meantime, I really wish you that you can enjoy the replays of the AStroconcert that will continue on YouTube, on the AStroconcert channel, throughout the month until the end of May 31st. And probably we will do it again later on throughout the years. Of course, if you like the Icy Rose 67P, please let us know. Send us your feedback, connecting to us through the AStroconcert channel, or writing an email to AStroconcerto, so AStroconcert plus a final O, at gmail.com. We would be glad to read your impressions, or maybe if you want to see a performance of one of our AStroconcerts, well, just write to us, because we will be happy to come to perform to your location in the future. We are available in Italian and English, and of course not only in Italy, but also abroad. Again, I thank you very much for following this conversation throughout this hour, and I'm looking forward to have one more hangout with you on May 30 at 9 a.m. Universal Time. This is all from Rome tonight. Thank you very much, and enjoy Icy Rose 67P. Goodbye.